You want to live a life on fire and on mission. You want to be filled with such conviction and drive that you stop caring about what anyone thinks. You want to face each day alive, authentic, and fully present in every moment. With your wife, with your kids, on the street, at work. You want to bring yourself to the table and to stop bringing the watered down, nice, what everyone wants version of you. You want that self to be a man who is burning in passion for Jesus, unafraid to bring his kingdom to anyone in your path, no matter what it costs you. You want to love the one in front of you without fear, without needing love back, and without reserve. You want to husband well. You want to father well. You want to shepherd your life well. You want to be a safe pillar for anybody around you. You want to experience God for real, to not just believe, but to know that he's got you and that he'll show up on your behalf, that he'll show up through you. You want to get to the end of your race and say, yep, I gave it everything. Jesus, you know I'm all in. And you want to know just how to get there. Welcome to Man Warrior King. I'm your host, Matt Halleck. Congratulations. You're among the violent taking the kingdom by force. You're among the chosen answering the call to rise above yourself. You're in the forge being stripped down and strengthened, and you will rise stronger, solid, unshakable. You are a man. You're a warrior. You are a king. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Man Warrior King podcast. I'm your host, Matt Halleck. I'm the founder of the Man Warrior King movement, and I'm the author of the book, The DNA of a Man. It is good to be coming at you this morning. I want to just start off our episode today with just a word of prayer over you, because this is a time in our world, this is a time in your life where you need to be able to hear from God. You need to be able to connect with your Father. You need to be able to get your time with your captain, King Jesus. And I can't deliver that for you in a podcast episode, but he can. So I want to pray over you. So Jesus, I pray that you would sink this message into these men here today. I pray that you would fill them with your spirit and with your wisdom and revelation, God. I pray that you would bring such deep transformation that they wouldn't know what hit them. God, build us up into men who are moving forward and taking ground in all things, God. Build us up into men who hear your voice well, who walk in step and in cadence with you. Teach us how to be men who go forward and take initiative and who wait on you, listen for your voice, and listen for your directives at the same time. God, I reject all passivity. I reject all laziness. I reject all faithlessness in the name of Jesus. And instead, I bless these men with assertive proactivity. I bless them with diligence and faithfulness. And I bless them with hope and confidence. In Jesus' name, amen. Guys, this morning, the Lord wants to talk to us out of Matthew chapter 15. And this chapter gives us such a good picture of what it was that I was just praying about, of being proactive, of being assertive, of not being passive, not being lazy, not letting the opinions, the influences of everything around us determine who we're going to be. And if we're going to be men who are taking the kingdom, then we have to learn. We have to learn this lesson that it's not going to be taken by us being nice, by us playing nice. It's going to be taken when we become violent of soul, when we become so gripped by what it is that we are pursuing that we will not let anything deter us. And that first and foremost pursuit should be for the presence and the power of Jesus, that you would know him and he would know you more. And beyond that, what is it that you're pursuing in your life right now where you need to see breakthrough, you need to see change, you need to see transformation? What is it you're pursuing? Is it your marriage? Is it connection with your wife? Is it your health? Is it experiencing miracles? Is it praying for healing, delivering prophetic words? Is it finances? Is it repairing broken relationships with family? Whatever it is, playing nice usually won't get you what you want. Matthew chapter 15. So it says that the Pharisees and scribes came to Jesus from Jerusalem, and they said, "Why do your disciples break the tradition of the elders? They don't wash their hands when they eat." And Jesus, he answers, and he says, "Why do you break the commandment of God for the sake of your tradition? For God commanded, 'Honor your father and mother,' and whoever reviles father or mother must surely die. But you, Pharisees, you say, if anyone tells his father or mother, 'What you would have gained from me, I'm going to go ahead and just give it to God,' you guys say that that person doesn't need to honor their father. So for the sake of your tradition, you've made his word void. You hypocrites." So, Jesus was a man who pushed the limits. He pushed boundaries. He did not care what people thought of him. He was not playing nice. He was not being polite. He was quite disagreeable, in fact, when it came to certain people. And he didn't shy away from being who he was supposed to be just because it was going to make some people upset, just because it was going to be ruffling feathers. See, guys, we need to uproot this thing inside of us that hesitates to do or be who we know we should be because we're afraid of whether or not it's going to be okay. See, Jesus didn't bother having his disciples follow these guidelines of the Pharisees. He most likely knew what they were, but he didn't bother having his followers do it. And this is a small example of how he bucked the system. I mean, we see all kinds of stories in the Gospels of him doing things on the Sabbath that really ticked the Pharisees off. He knew what the rules of the day were, what he should and shouldn't be doing, and what he should and shouldn't be teaching his followers to do, and yet he ignored them because he was connected with the heart and the mission of God. And he was open to the possibility and maybe even the requirement that he would have to break tradition in order to follow God's mission. And you guys, in our lives, we need to be willing to make people upset for the sake of obeying the Lord and doing and being the things that he has called us to do and be. We have got to not worry about being polite. And you know, he didn't even feel subject to these authorities. They asked him, "Why are you doing this?" And he didn't answer their question. Instead, he responded with his own question. He's like, "I don't have to answer to you." Wow. This does not seem very churchy Guys, we are conditioned, we are trained in church culture that we must continually run things by whoever it may be in authority or in power. And I'm not saying to go and start a rebellion in your church and overthrow your pastor and things like that. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that too often men with legitimate callings and passions and dreams, they wait for permission from somebody. They ask for permission from somebody instead of realizing, you know what? The truth is God is the one who has put this inside of me, and I answer to him. Now, if the thing that I'm supposed to be doing is literally in my local church, then I'm going to have to probably talk to some people in authority about it. But if they reject my idea or my mission or my calling, then do I play nice and just not pursue it? Or do I go find another way? You don't have to violate authority. You might just need to go somewhere else or to do what it is that you're being called to do outside of the realm of authority, of that authority. And I'm not advocating everybody go and be just solo Lone Rangers doing their own thing, never connected to anybody. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that we need to not be expecting that everybody likes what we're doing and likes us. Jesus in Matthew 10, when he sent out the 12, he says, hey, go into these different cities and look for the person of peace. Look for houses that welcome you. And if a house welcomes you, then yes, let your peace fall on it and rest on it. But if not, then let your peace return to you. Get up, pack your things, move on, and shake and wipe the dust off of your feet. But we are afraid of that kind of thing because, no, I have to stay in a certain place because I would let people down if I move on, if I go after this other thing. I would cause too many people to question and wonder what's going on. I might make somebody stumble. Guys, Jesus made a lot of people stumble. In fact, that's what he was called in the Old Testament, prophecies about him. He was the stumbling stone. So he says, he calls his disciples to him. And he says, listen, understand this. It's not what goes into your mouth that defiles you. It's what comes out of your mouth. That's what defiles you. And his disciples came to him and they were like, Jesus, don't you know that the Pharisees were offended when they heard this? And he answered, every plant that my heavenly Father has not planted will be rooted up. Let them alone. They're blind guides. And if the blind lead the blind, both will fall into a pit. So the disciples were like, Jesus, you're making people mad. And Jesus was like, I don't really care. Because justice, because righteousness, because a turning of the heart of this people back to the heart of God is way more important than me making some people upset. You fighting for your marriage is way more important than you making your wife upset. You fighting for the financial health of your family is way more important than the Christians out there who say you shouldn't even think about money or worry about money. You fighting for your health is more important than the naysayers around you who say, God just might have something for you in this disease and it might be his will and you'll get healed when you die. You fighting for your health today is more important than keeping those people happy. You digging into scripture and figuring out what the will of God is over your health, over your future, is far more important than all the people who tell you you can't do it. And I tell you what, the people you walk by whose bodies are broken, whose hearts are hurting, who need a word of prophecy, a word of knowledge from God, they are far more important than all of the theology, all of the doctrine, all of the Pharisees who say that can't be done. You believing and taking God at his word is more important. You watering the seed that he's planted inside of you for your dream, for your mission, is more important than all the people who say that it's ridiculous and it's irresponsible and you need to not do it. Because you, my friend, you're not out there trying to just do your own thing and live life for yourself and become all selfish and everything like that. That's not who you are. You're on mission for the kingdom. This is you. This is your heart. So it's time that you start doing it, living this way, and be corrected if it comes to that, if you need to be corrected. But you know the difference between legitimate, valuable correction and naysayers. You know the difference between the need to repent and hesitation, fear, and timidity based on what people are going to think of you. And look at this woman, Matthew 15, verse 21. Jesus goes away from this place where he was talking with the Pharisees and about the Pharisees and everything, and he goes into the district of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a Canaanite woman from that region, she came out and she was crying, "Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely oppressed by a demon." So this woman is not an Israelite. She is not of God's chosen people. She is a Canaanite, meaning the land of Canaan. Way back in the day when the Israelites came into the promised land was called Canaan, and there were a bunch of other peoples there that they fought against, who worshipped other gods, who defied the God of Israel, those people. So she is a Canaanite, a non-Israelite living in the region. But she sees something that she needs in Jesus. So she says, "Have mercy on me, Lord, Son of David. My daughter's oppressed by a demon." And look, Jesus didn't answer. Not a word. Guys, I am a fan of us growing into men who don't take no for an answer from life. Too many of us, things go hard, get difficult, we don't see a way out, and we assume that we're just not meant to achieve or pursue or see breakthrough in whatever area it is that we're looking for. And I'm like, no, stop taking no for an answer from life. Stop letting Satan bully you around and tell you what you can and can't have. I'm sorry, you are an heir of God and a joint heir with Jesus. He tells you what's yours, not Satan. I'm more hesitant when it comes to having the same attitude towards God. No, God, I'm not going to take no for an answer on this one. Because, of course, he's God. How could you defy him? But it seems, at the risk of sounding heretical, it seems like at times God actually values us pushing back against him. He actually values us standing up to him and pushing through his silence or his no until we get his yes. which maybe he really wanted to give all along, but at times he might choose to shroud it behind what appears to be a no. Look, she's saying, have mercy on me, my daughter has a demon, and Jesus doesn't answer her. But that's not good enough for her. So I don't know what this will result in your life, but is it possible that God is looking for you to stand up and wake up and push back? Is it possible that he wants that? Sure, there are things in your life where he's like, no, this is a firm no, and you're now in arrogance and you're proud, and you think you know better than me, and that's not okay. Sure. Of course, there's sin at times when we disagree with God and we want to resist him. Yeah. Pride is no good. Confidence, boldness, those are good. And we can have those with humility. This woman was confident enough to keep going. She was bold enough to keep going. Jesus didn't answer her a word, and his disciples came and begged him, saying, send her away. She's crying out after us. So see, she didn't just ask him once. She kept on asking, and so much so that she got some other people pissed off at her. So she got this silent response from the one that she was petitioning, from God himself, from Jesus. And that now there were people around saying, God, send her away. Jesus, send her away. Silence her. She's annoying. She's not giving up. See, you and I, we would stop. We would take it as a sign from the Lord that we were out of his will and that we were being too audacious, being too presumptuous, and we should get in our place. But this woman, not so. He answers and says, I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So, first of all, he gives her silence, and she keeps going. Then he gives her an answer, and it's not a good one. He says, listen, I was only sent to Israel, and you're not Israel. You're a Canaanite woman. I'm not helping you. But she came and she knelt before him. Look, this is not pride. This is humility. And she throws herself at his feet. She says, Lord, help me. And he gives her another no. He says it's not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs. He says she's a dog. And she's not one of his children. And she still doesn't get offended. And she says, yes, Lord, you're right. Yet even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table. Basically, I will get it one way or another. And I'll get it from you one way or another, because you are the source. Call me a dog if you want. But you have what I need. And Jesus answered her, O woman, great is your faith. Be it done for you as you desire. And her daughter was healed instantly. So Jesus models for us this disagreeability with the system and with what people think of him. But then immediately next in the chapter, we get a nice example of a woman who is doing the same exact thing, except this time with Jesus. And it breaks our brain because you're like, how am I supposed to make sense of this? How can I tell when it's okay to fight back against God and when it's not okay to fight back? I don't know. Look at Moses, look at Abraham, look at Jacob. They all fought with God. And God didn't reject them outright. He didn't strike them dead. He honored them. They were his friends. I don't know what area in your life you need to take this to heart in, but I know there's something. We need to become men who are willing to go toe to toe with Jesus sometimes. And of course he's king. Of course he carries the day. Of course we submit to his authority and his kingship. But he might want some men who have a little bit of fight in them. He might want some men who have an opinion, who have some drive, who have things that we are not willing to let go of because the stakes are too high. I'm not calling you in to a clean, neatly packaged way of life here. I can't give you strict guidelines. All I can give you is a heart stance, and I can give you an invitation into a life that's more alive and more passionate and more powerful and possibly more connected to the Spirit, because you will show up for yourself way more real than you have before. Because now you're not trying to be nice and you're not trying to appease him all the time. You're not trying to make him like you. You're being real. And he can work with real men. He can't work with men with a religious veneer, a religious facade that we put on in order to try to be polite and not rock the boat and do things the way the church tells us to. What if the church is wrong in some things? And what if God's asking you to help make those wrongs right? What if the trajectory of your life has been more according to Satan's desires than his, and he's asking you to stand up and do something and fight back? The only way to know for sure is to dig deep into your connection with him and to stop putting it on the shelf and to start making time with him a real priority. Because the only way you're going to know the difference between things you should pursue in spite of resistance and things that you shouldn't is by being close with him and knowing his voice and hearing his heart. See, when you begin to live this way, when you begin to be assertive, proactive, to push, in spite of resistance, in spite of what people think, in spite of feeling like you might be going against what you should be doing according to people's definitions. When you live this way, it begins to produce results. Look what happens next. Jesus goes from there and walks beside the Sea of Galilee, and he went up on the mountain and sat down there, and great crowds came to him. See, you might turn some people off. You might alienate some people in your pursuit of what God's putting inside of you. But you know what? You're going to draw the people to you who need to be drawn. And he goes and he sits down, and great crowds come to him, and they bring their lame and their blind and their crippled and their mute and many others, and they put them at his feet. See, the Pharisees, they didn't get it. And Jesus was like, you know what? I'm not going to play your game, because do you see the crowds that are coming to me? Do you see the crowds who have so much in need? The stakes are too high. If I play your game, I don't get to minister to the people who need the touch from God. I don't bring the kingdom if I play your game. And so they put them at his feet, and he healed them. And the crowd wondered. They wondered when they saw the mute speaking, the crippled healthy, the lame walking, and the blind seeing, and they glorified the God of Israel. I have people tell me all the time, well, healing is God's timing, and we can pray for it, but maybe, we know that he's going to heal in the great by and by. And I'm like, I don't accept that. And maybe I'm wrong, and God will have to show me, and someday I'll be put in my place. But I don't accept that, because if I believe that, if I let myself go down that path, then I don't have the faith for the person in front of me who needs a rebuilt kidney, who needs a rebuilt gallbladder. I don't have faith for the person in front of me whose hands are tingling and numb. So I reject your standards because I see something else. It's just like Joshua and Caleb. I reject the standards of the other 10 spies who say the land is too difficult for us and it'll eat us alive. I reject that because I see something else, and I see that the land has been given into our hands. Will you take me up on this? I hope you do. I want to remind you, gentlemen, that if you haven't yet, pick up the DNA of a man. It'll change your life. If there's a topic that you want to see addressed in the podcast, please go to manwarriorking.com contact page and let me know. I want to give you what you need. Until next time, gentlemen, God bless you. Good afternoon. This is Matt Halleck signing off and thanking you again for being a part of the Man Warrior King community. If you want more, head over to manwarriorking.com. And please remember to take just a couple seconds to subscribe on iTunes and to leave a 5-star rating and a review so that more and more men can join us as we become awesome. You are a kingdom man. Go out, take more ground, push back darkness. Remember, you bring value into your home, your work, and your circle. You are not a taker, you are a giver. Abundance is your atmosphere.